For more about all of this, we are joined tonight by Dominic McSorley. He is the operations manager of Concern Worldwide US and recently returned from Pakistan. Thanks for joining us. How great is the humanitarian crisis in that area today?
This is a huge crisis. I mean, on the scale of it's been referenced to on the scale of Rwanda, just in terms of the numbers of people that have been forced to flee and have been displaced. So 2 million people 3 months ago fled their homes, some of them overnight, some of them with very, very little notice, and basically swamped the areas of Mardan and districts around that. So in terms of crisis, this is big, and it's still big.
But I thought, as many people in this country probably believed, people had started returning back to the Swat Valley, going back home, and that this crisis was slowly starting to alleviate itself.
Well, that's partly true, and a lot of people have actually gone home. About 600,000 of the 2 million, have voted with their feet and are heading home. Now, there's problems with that because not everybody is actually getting home. There's still fighting going on in some of the mountainous areas. The challenge is going to be, if they do get home, can they stay? Is the fighting really over? The second thing is they need a lot of support. They need at least 6 months support, because otherwise, if they don't get that, they're going home to fail.
But judging by the numbers that you just gave there's still a majority of people that have not returned. So what struck you most by what you saw when you were there?
Well, the interesting thing about this emergency is that it hasn't been that visible. I think part of the reason is because 90% of the population, didn't end up in large, refugee centres or tents, 200,000 or 300,000 did. The majority of them went into homes of friends or homes of relatives. Now, I met a man, and you think, well, maybe that's good. But I met a man, a teacher, and his wife. They weren't well off. They had a 2-bedroom house. And they had taken in 54 people, most of them friends and relatives. That's 64 people living in a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom. And he had already used up all his savings in the first month to try and support these people. Because these are, it's traditional Pashtun. They're basically guests.
Right.
And this was repeated house after house after house. It was an enormous, overwhelming problem on the community.
What's been the international response here to this refugee crisis?
I think insufficient is really the word. The UN had an appeal out for 540 million, and that's really just to cover the basics. You don't talk about plastic sheeting, we're talking about pots and pans. I'm not talking about anything luxurious here, and only 50% of that is funded. When I was there, we were deciding, we have 500 blankets, there are 1,000 people there, who do we give them to? We ran out of funding. That's why we're forced into making those decisions, and those are not good decisions to be making.
I don't want to run out of time before I ask you, for people who are listening, what can they do if they want to help?
I think people need to stay informed. This is not over, and this is not going to be over for some time. And I think we absolutely have to stay informed. And we are dependent, as everybody is, on funding and contributions. And that needs to start. Otherwise, we're leaving these people in the lurch.
Dominic McSorley, thank you very much for speaking with us and for your work.
Thank you very much, Martin.